Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. And I want to talk a little bit more today about one of the other Seahawks stars so far during this preseason. And this one's no surprise. This guy did not come out of nowhere the way that Levi Bell kind of did. No, this guy, I think a lot of us had a pretty good feeling was going to have a pretty monster improvement this season. We heard about it in training camp, heard about it in the OTAs, and now we're seeing it in the preseason, and it seems like everything is really starting to manifest itself just as we were hoping when we picked this guy in the draft about a year and a half ago. I'm talking about Boye Mafe. And this is a guy who I've been very excited about since the moment we drafted him. He was one of the guys that I really was into during that draft, the 2022 draft. He was somebody I was really hoping we could get with one of our early second round picks. And when we did, I had a really good feeling about how it was going to go, but I knew it wasn't going to be immediate. It wasn't going to be year one, he's out there getting double digit sacks and getting Pro Bowl votes. No, I knew it was going to be a process. But at the same time, I got to say, I wasn't sure that that process was going to be done by the start of year two. But it's starting to look like. It's starting to look like he might be there. He might just be the guy that we were hoping we would get already. And year two is not, well, year two has started, but season two hasn't started for him yet. So there's this tweet I found here from Derek Clausen. Corbin Smith retweeted it on his timeline, so I saw it, talking about how Mafe looks so much better this year. One thing he calls out here is the pop in his hands. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later in this video. But generally speaking, Boye Mafe has been consistently standing out so far through two preseason games. And this is a guy who did play for us last year, and he played decently. So it's not like this is something that came out of nowhere. It's not like this is something you can completely write off as just, oh, it's just preseason. No, this is the maybe not the end point, but one of the major milestones of a process that started when we took this guy in the second round about a year and a half ago. You go to PFF and you take a look at what he's done so far this preseason according to them. The first thing that stands out is how well-rounded he is through two games. And I know it's a relatively small sample size, but through two games, his overall player grade is 79.4, and he has a run defense grade of 76.2 and a pass rush grade of about 78. So that is an all-around, every down player, somebody who can play in pass rush situations and run defense situations. So Boye Mafe, I mean, the bare minimum here has clearly defined himself now as a starter for this defense. Boye Mafe should, and I believe will, start opposite Uchenna Nwosu on this defense. You dig a little bit deeper into what PFF has on him, you can see that of the 5 tackles he's made so far in preseason action, 4 of them constitute stops. And I've talked about this a little before. A stop is a successful tackle, not a tackle 30 yards down the field where the offense already had a really successful play and then you get the tackle. No, these are tackles for short gains or no gain or sometimes losses. These are tackles that actually help your team get your defense off the field and get the ball back to your offense. He also, according to PFF, has 6 total QB pressures on 27 pass rush snaps. So just think about that. He's rushed the passer 27 times through 2 preseason games. He's gotten 6 pressures. And again, he is playing against backups, but you go back to last year's preseason where Mafe did play pretty well. He didn't have nearly that much success going against backups. So there was clear improvement. And if you want to look at last year's regular season, when he did play a pretty good amount, well, first of all, when you go down here, you notice that his pass rush grade was pretty substandard. Now, his run defense has always been pretty good. That's why he played as much as he did last year. But you can see, pass rush grade was not good. That's what was holding him back from becoming an all-around player. If that is truly here now, then wow, do we have an all-around player. You can also see that he had 187 pass rush snaps last year. and he only had 10 pressures. So the difference in effectiveness in rushing the passer so far is enormous, massive. And we're just stacking that on top of what he is giving you as a run defender already. And the funny thing is, you go back and look at some of his pre-draft scouting reports from various sites like the Draft Network, and you look at what they had to say about him as a run defender, they were not that high on him as a run defender. And generally speaking, I think that defensive players, particularly these 3-4 edge rushers, that's the area of their game that they're going to really have a problem in at first. So the fact that he was that good as a rookie is actually, I think, really notable and really impressive. A great example was Bruce Irvin. That first year, maybe even the first couple years, not a good run defender at all. Got destroyed in run defense. Over time, he got better at it. But as a rookie, yeah, he couldn't defend the run at all. So the fact that Mafe was already there as a rookie, not only is it just generally impressive for any rookie to be good against the run as an edge rusher, but it also bucked the trend of his pre-draft scouting reports. Like, we also have this one from Bleacher Report, subpar anchor in the run game, can have issues settling down and holding ground. So he has, I guess, in a manner of speaking, exceeded expectations at every level. He was modestly effective as a rookie, and now he looks poised to become a big-time player in year number 2. So where is this going with Boye Mafe? Is he going to become a guy who is a plus run defender, maybe even a plus run defender, on top of giving you consistent pressure and 10 plus sacks a year? Are we already there? And the big picture of this is, because obviously this video is about Boye Mafe and the improvement that he's made as a player and how good he looks so far this preseason and how cool it is that we've gotten here already, because we all had this vision of how this could play out in our heads, and we didn't know how long it was going to take for us to get there. And it seems like we might already be there. Now, obviously, some people are going to point at like a guy like Darrell Taylor, who was supposed to be monstrous last year. Apparently, he had a great training camp, and mini camps, he looked great, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's going to be a monster. Didn't really pan out. He was actually very, very mixed last season. But the difference here is that Mafe has already proven stability. He can hold up against the run. But big picture talking about this, let's think about what our defense will have now if things go according to plan. We've got 2 edge rushers that are well-rounded. Neither of those guys are giving up much in either facet of the game, run defense or pass rush. They're both stout in both areas now. You've got Bobby Wagner, who, even when my belief in Bobby Wagner as an all-around player was at its lowest, good against the run, really good linebacker against the run. I did believe that. So you got him in there now. Eventually, you're going to get Jordan Brooks, who is a very flawed player, but the one area where he does kind of excel is against the run. You've got Jamal Adams back this year, one of the best safeties in the league against the run. So a lot of people really concerned about our run defense this year. A lot of people really, really concerned that we didn't do enough to improve our run defense because of the defensive line, but it's not just the defensive line. You see what I'm saying here? Yes, we weren't able to improve the defensive line that much. We bring in Draymond Jones. That's the best interior defensive lineman we've had in quite some time. We bring in Jaron Reed, try to play him nose tackle. We'll see how that works. We bring in Mario Edwards, see how that works. Mike Morris, Cam Young, we bring in some guys like that. Okay. But overall, yeah, the defensive line is still clearly a weakness. And a lot of people think that's going to be the death knell to this team because we couldn't stop the run last year. But look at all these other areas where it looks like we've gotten better against the run. Bobby Wagner is going to be a significant upgrade over Cody Barton. Jamal Adams, if he can play more than 15 snaps this year, that's already better than what he did last year. And Jamal Adams, when playing, is one of the best safeties in the game against the run. You add a guy like Witherspoon, who is one of the best tacklers at the cornerback position in this or any recent draft for a cornerback. So don't just look at it through a keyhole here, is what I'm trying to say. Don't just look at this one-dimensionally and say, in order to improve our run defense, we need to improve this defensive line. And we didn't improve the defensive line enough, therefore our run defense is still going to be bad. There are all these other areas that we improved considerably more than we did the defensive line that will affect our run defense positively. And don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting this run defense to be elite this year. It might not even be good this year. Could be, honestly, if it's below average, that would not shock me at all. But I don't believe you need to have some great run defense to win games in this league. Not anymore. Teams don't run the ball as much as they used to. Teams are way more about the passing game now. Games ultimately in this league come down to passing games and quarterbacks and game-winning drives with 2 minutes, way more than they do the run game. So, yes, there may come a point this year, maybe a game, maybe even 2 games, where we wish we had a better run defense. But it's not going. I don't believe it's going to be like last year. Last year, where our run defense was so bad, it would single-handedly cost us game after game after game after game and just make us look completely non-competitive. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Last year, the run defense was atrocious. It was, I think, bottom 3. Maybe this year it'll be bottom 12. But the difference is massive, and it's more than enough to not single-handedly cost you a bunch of games the way that it did last year. So consider what we have in these other places. Consider what the improvement of a guy like Boye Mafe can do for us there. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.